we are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Podcast. Hello everybody, I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast,
Joel. Uh-oh.
What?
I lined that up perfectly with you saying it, which means it's definitely not going to sound right.
Damn it. Well, if it makes you any feel better, it sounded completely off to me, so.
No, that doesn't help.
All right. Welcome to episode 26, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Or maybe 27. I remember having 25.
Right. I don't think we did 26 yet.
Right. So welcome to episode 26, which we will now stick with no matter what. We are here in December. And I guess let's get started. So first I wanted to remind everyone that Nathan does not owe me $1. With that out of the way, why don't we move on to our sports update? So, let's see. The Eagles lost to the Dolphins. Did I say that on the last podcast?
I remember discussing it with you, so probably.
Okay,
it's definitely worth restating. The Eagles lost to the Dolphins.
Right, so since then, I guess, the Cowboys lost to the Bears, so the Eagles play tomorrow, so if they win, they'll be tied for the division lead somehow, and so I guess I still have hope in that respect. I've started rooting for the Bills more now because they're actually good, and they lost today to the Ravens, but it was close, and also the Patriots lost today, so the Bills still have a shot at winning the division, which would be hilarious.
That would be very funny, actually.
They still play the Patriots, so they're down by one game. If they won that game, they'd be tied. So.
And I assume they have the tiebreaker then with head-to-head?
No, if they won that game, it would be that tiebreaker would be tied.
What?
And what? They would each have won one game. So in the NFL, you play your division teams once at home and once on the road.
Oh, so they've already lost to the Patriots.
They've already lost to the Patriots at home. So if they beat the Patriots on the road, then that tiebreaker would be tied. And the next tiebreaker would be divisional record, which I'm pretty sure they're also both tied. So the next tiebreaker is common opponents, which I have no idea. I haven't actually looked. But I do know that the Bills lost to the Eagles and the Patriots beat the Eagles. So that's one in favor of the Patriots.
Well, anyway. I do hope that it's possible for the Bills to win the division, and yes. I hope that they do that. That would be very funny.
Yes. So, but regardless, the Bills are in a very good position to make the playoffs and possibly even win a game. So, they played a close game against a team that many people think is probably the best in the AFC. And they came close to tying it in the end of the game. So it was not the worst thing that could happen. The Sixers, I don't know, they continuing to be fine. Ben Simmons made his second career three-pointer last night, which was exciting. Yeah.
Looks like they just beat the Raptors. Was that today?
Oh. Yeah, it was today. Is the game over? Looks like there's still a minute left, but they're winning.
Well, you must be behind. I have a final score listed.
Well, they beat the Raptors today, which is good because they lost to the Raptors earlier in the season, so it's good to see them get that win.
Yep.
Yeah, last night's game, they were winning by over 40, or maybe it was exactly 40, at halftime. So.
Oh, was that against Cleveland? I think I saw that.
Yeah, it was.
Terrible.
It was terrible for Cleveland.
Yeah.
But it was nice for me because I got to watch the Big Ten championship game instead.
There you go. Speaking of the Big Ten championship game, that was exactly what I expected to happen, I suppose.
Yeah, I felt like I would care more if I was like a Wisconsin fan.
Yeah.
Maybe you living in Wisconsin would care more, but I was like, I feel like I should be sad right now, but I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, Wisconsin did pretty well and they made it to the Rose Bowl. So like if you're a Wisconsin fan, that's a pretty good, like that's pretty much the best case scenario at this point. And then on the plus side, since Ohio State won this game, the last team to beat Ohio State is still Purdue.
Yes.
Which is excellent.
The dream is alive.
I really want them to win all of the games for the rest of time.
Except for against Purdue.
Anytime they play Purdue, they have to lose. But other than that.
Yeah, so I also don't think they would have missed the playoff even if they lost. So it's not even really like it mattered that much.
I agree. It was dramatic because it looked like Wisconsin had a chance for a bit. But that's about all there was to that.
So, yeah, so in the college football playoff was announced today, and it's Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, and Oklahoma to nobody's surprise. So it's a good thing Alabama got that second loss, because otherwise they'd definitely be in
it. Yep. So good job, Auburn. I forgive you for what you did to Purdue football last year.
Yeah, so moving on to college basketball.
All right.
Purdue beat Virginia, who was ranked 5, 69-40. It's like the best possible outcome.
It was amazing. I wish I could have been there in person. Matt Harms scored more than half of his points from three-pointer shots. It was...
Stefanovic hit 6 threes.
That's... All right. Great job.
It was exciting to watch because Purdue's offense has been anemic in pretty much every other game they've played. Yeah. And against Virginia, who's supposed to be known for their defense, it was nice to see them do extremely well. So...
Right. My only conclusion from this game is that Purdue is the best team in the country. I would expect to just go undefeated for the rest of the season.
Absolutely.
Congrats on the national championship, guys.
Yeah, especially considering I guess we haven't played 11 games yet. But last season we started 6-5 and we almost made the Final Four. This season we've started 6-3. You may as well punch our ticket to the Natty right now, I think.
Before you get too excited, I'm going to check who our next 2 games are against. I suspect we can win them.
Our next game is Nebraska.
We can beat Nebraska. I think they're the worst team in the Big Ten. And the game after that is Ohio.
State?
Nope, just Ohio.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So hopefully we can beat Ohio as well.
Yes.
I certainly expect us to be favored.
Yep. So, but that one is after the Christmas break, so we've got a while to wait.
Right.
So, but anyway.
No, not right. That's in what? That's on the 17th of December.
Okay. Well, the next Big Ten game after Nebraska is after the Christmas break. So.
Oh yes, that is correct.
Right. So.
All right.
Right, so yeah, see you in, where do we say the Final Four is this year? Atlanta or something?
I already forgot. One of them was in Texas, I think, maybe? No, that doesn't sound right.
Well, we'll see you wherever it is, Purdue. So, yeah, so that's that. What else? The Flyers won. I continue to not follow them at all. But they won the other day.
There's sports going on right now. Our sports update is... I thought we were going to be done.
Yeah, so I think that's it. So, also IU lost in basketball.
Oh, they lost by a lot. I was going
Wisconsin.
to look up a statistic because I saw something about it. I don't remember what it was, but it was very funny. And it was along the lines of like Indiana hasn't beat Wisconsin at Wisconsin in like 20 years or something like that.
You should have gone to the game.
I wasn't actually here at that point.
Well, that's on you.
You're right.
What you looking at?
I'm looking for the game.
Oh, the game.
Yeah.
So, well, that means that Indiana, the state of Indiana, no longer has the most undefeated teams, which it did for a brief period, with both Butler and IU being undefeated.
The most was 2?
Yes. They were tied with Virginia before we beat Virginia. So yeah. So now the most any state has is 1, and I believe there's at least 10 or 15 states that have 1.
Right.
So,
well, good for all of those states. Congratulations, everybody.
Yep.
We did it.
Okay. So, all right. So I guess that's our end of our sports update.
Yeah.
So, okay, I don't remember exactly how much of this we talked about on air last week. Probably none. But we have decided to put a hold on the movie for now. So we know we didn't finish the movie last week, and we are going, since this is kind of thinking intensive to talk about, and I assume listen to those episodes. Well, not assume, I have listened to those episodes. We're trying to, make an episode that's a little easier.
Right.
For us because we're lazy. So
yeah. In case it'll be a few weeks before we get back to that. And so in case during that time I have managed to upload all of the episodes and everything, and someone has listened to this and has ideas for us to add to the movie when we get back to it, please email us at alexandalex@joelthepodcast@gmail.com. I was listening to some old episodes on the drive this weekend, and I used to be so good at just saying that email. And then at some point, I got really bad at it.
Are you talking about physically saying it, or you got bad about not saying it enough?
I mean, like, I would say the wrong thing, like Alex and Alex at podcast.com or something.
You would say Alex and Alex.
There was a podcast there where I just couldn't get it right. And when we first came up with it, you have always been good, and I used to be good. I don't know what happened. Now I have to concentrate really hard every time I say the email to make sure I don't mess up.
Right. Well, so the thing is that email that you would say by accident, alexandalex@joelthepodcast.com@gmail.com, was what we originally wanted the email address to be.
Right.
But back when we made it up as a joke. But when you actually made the email address, we found out that it wasn't that. There's no .com at the end of Joel the Podcast, so yeah, I guess that's probably just like a holdover from the old days when that was the email address.
You're probably right.
So, yeah, so please do email us for any reason whatsoever. We will be ecstatic. At Alex and Alex and Joel the Podcast @gmail.com. And if you send us, if you put some effort into sending us some evidence that you haven't punched a baby, and you send us your Venmo handle, we will Venmo you $1. Assuming no one.
1 cent.
What?
I thought it was 1 cent.
Oh yeah, 1 cent. That's right. Sorry, Sorry. Yes, we will not be giving you $1. We'll be giving you 1 cent. We're not rich.
Listen,
and
just because you haven't punched a baby doesn't make you entitled to one of my dollars.
just because you allegedly haven't punched a baby.
There's no way to prove you haven't punched a baby.
Exactly. So, but we would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And, or just tell us to stop, or tell us to keep going, or give us ideas for something we should do, or literally any reason. Please email us. All right.
Yeah.
So, now that we're putting a pause on the movie, we decided to go back to our Ask Reddit format for a week. So we're going to be reading some questions from Ask Reddit. So here we go. First question. I guess as a former scientist, maybe you can answer this.
Of course.
What scientific experiment would you run if money and ethics weren't an issue? And if your experiment is technical in nature, please dumb it down for those non-scientists out there. Obviously, I will understand it, but for all of our listeners.
Yeah, it's interesting that the question includes ethics, because the sorts of experiments that I am knowledgeable about, I don't think ethics really comes into play.
Right.
It is typically not unethical to do physics.
Right.
I guess unless you're doing like biophysics or something and getting real weird with it. I don't know.
I feel like I need to do some sports related experiments. Like,
yeah.
I guess I don't need to do an experiment for this. I could probably just look at statistics. But I always wondered if like being on the road at a basketball game affects your free throw percentage. And I'm sure someone else has actually looked at that. But, like the fact that there's a bunch of fans in the background like waving around, that has to affect it, right? Maybe not.
Think so.
What?
You would think so. There's obviously tons of statistics out there, so it would be pretty easy to do that, I think.
Yeah, what do you think I'm going to put effort in?
Right. Well, with your unlimited money, you could pay somebody else to put the effort in.
You know what? If you know the answer, please email us at alexandalex@joelthepodcast@gmail.com. And if you email me with like actual statistics and evidence, I will Venmo you $1. There.
All right.
I'm putting my unlimited money to use.
So I don't actually have like a physics experiment I would really want to do, so I think my science background isn't very relevant here.
Okay.
Like,
well, do you want to know anything? Do you want to run any experiments? I guess this maybe wasn't a great question.
I think it requires some thought to answer, and it's not very interesting to listen to me just sit and think.
That's a good point. In that case, I'll read some of the responses from the actual thread.
Man, this is going to be a low effort episode, isn't it?
All right, I'll not read the responses. I have some other questions. And
all
yes,
right.
As soon as we decided to do this format, we knew it was going to be low effort. So
we're off to an amazing start.
This episode's going to be like 10 minutes long.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? It would be kind of interesting to like raise children in different conditions to figure out what causes stuff to happen.
Right. Like how much of it's genetics and how much of it's not.
Yeah, like if you could get a bunch of twins or something. And then cuz I've heard stories about like twins that were separated at birth and then grew up to do really similar things and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if that's like, real or what, but
I think we should.
Sort of thing. Obviously, you can't just experiment on children. That's pretty much the worst thing. But
with unlimited money and no ethics, I think we should raise 100 or even more kids without ever saying the word GIF to them, and then seeing how they pronounce it when they grow up to find out what the true pronunciation, whether it's GIF or GIF.
That's an excellent idea. That's exactly what I want to do. I don't want to spend any more time thinking about this question because that would be wasted time.
And then
no better answer than that.
And then if it turns out that like GIF is more common, I would bury the results and make sure no one ever found out. Because that's clearly incorrect.
Exactly.
All right, this might be a quick one. I don't know if you all even have any answers to this one, but I just thought I'd ask. Instead of giving presents, Santa now puts things that you lost or were stolen from you under the tree. What would you be the most excited to see under the tree?
The only significant thing that I ever remember losing was my first iPod. It was an iPod Nano.
Wait. What color was it?
I don't actually even remember because I had like a black rubber case on it.
This is hilarious.
The rubber case, you could like wrap your headphones up on the back, so I probably lost the headphones with it too.
That's nice. I was gonna say the exact same thing. I lost my iPod Nano. Seriously, I think I was sleeping in the basement of my house, and there was a bunch of pillows or whatever around, and I woke up. And I have no idea. It had to have been in my house, but obviously, if it were in my house, I would have found it by now. So I have no idea what happened to it. That was my number one thing. Also, that's pretty funny.
It's crazy. I know. I can like vaguely remember the day it went missing, and I think I noticed it was missing at like a parking lot of a store or something. So it probably like fell out somewhere. It's not like hidden in my things, which it sounds like yours is, which is really
right. Except it's clearly not because
obviously
it's been like 10 years and I haven't found it. It's been more than 10 years. One of the reasons, I guess maybe not more than 10 years, about 10 years.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I wanted to find it is I had this video. Okay, a little bit of background.
All right.
So every year my family goes to this farm.
Yeah.
Because they have this really big corn maze that we like to do. And this farm has train tracks running through it. And it's not like a modern electric train. It's like an old-fashioned train, like with a smokestack and a big whistle.
Yeah.
And the whistle is extremely loud, and when it comes through the farm, it blows the whistle so that you don't get run over by it by accident.
Understandable.
And so I have this video of my youngest sister when she was probably like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And there was like, I don't even remember what she was talking about. I guess there was like a second train or something, like a small like toy train or something. And we were talking to her and we were like, we were like asking her what the difference between the two trains was. And she goes, that train doesn't noise. And we were like, what noise does it make? What noise does the other one make? She's like, it makes the noise. And we were like, what noise does it make? She goes, no. Like, it's just probably not as funny just hearing the video from me telling it, but it was very hilarious at the time and rewatching it, and I wish I still had that video. Anyway.
That does sound like a loss to humanity.
Yes. Also, this always comes up in my house when we talk about lost stuff, is we had a TV remote that was lost and somehow never found. So, which again, we're talking about at least 5 or 10 years at this point. Definitely should have been found by now.
I feel like what's even a plausible explanation for that?
I know, right?
Like, did it fall in the trash or something, and then
It must have like I don't know.
It's so difficult to like come up with any sort of like reasonable like it couldn't possibly be that somebody broke in and stole a remote and an iPod maybe.
Maybe I think the most plausible explanation is that somebody broke it, and rather than admit that they broke it, they decided to hide it or get rid of it somehow.
Aha.
And that's what happened, and they never told anyone.
Do any of your siblings have an iPod?
Yeah, my brother did, but he was the only one. His was blue, mine was black.
Oh, okay. So he probably didn't take your iPod.
No, he didn't take my iPod is more plausible. Like, I probably just didn't lose it when I thought I did.
Yeah.
And I probably lost it somewhere other than my house. The remote, though, like, there's no reason to ever take a remote outside of your house, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get the next question. This one, I think we can actually, I guess that was a somewhat good discussion, but this one should be a better question. You can make everyone follow one rule. What rule do you make?
I feel obligated to make it like the best possible rule because there's obviously some easy like, everybody should throw their trash away all the time or like use turn signals and
Right.
Stuff like that. But I feel like you can. There's got to be some like best possible rule to make everybody follow.
Right. So there's some interesting philosophical implications, which I will not get into with this.
Okay.
Like, basically boils down to if you can make everyone follow a rule, that's really good, like no killing. But then they lose free will, so does it really matter? Like, obviously it matters that people don't die, but does it matter from a I guess a religious perspective, which not everyone might care about? But yeah. Anyway, we don't need to get into that. No turn signals. Or, I mean, always use your turn signal sounds like a great rule.
Yeah, it would improve my drives to and from the places I go.
Maybe no one can lie to me.
That's a good rule. That's probably a good rule.
I feel like that's a rule that you see on like a kids TV show that horribly backfires in the 30 minutes that they show.
I feel like a lot of the lies that people tell me at this point are lies to make me feel better about something. Because I don't think there's a lot of people like lying to me all the time,
Right. I mean, the thing is I don't know about any lies that I'm told. But I guess that's the point.
Maybe if people had to tell me the truth, they'd, not compliment me ever and
Rip.
I don't know. That's kind of it does sound like a good thing. Like it
sounds like a good thing until it happens.
Even if there were bad results, I think I'd still want to know. But it might not be like enjoyable.
Right. Yeah.
Although I assume for the most part that nobody's like actually lying to me hardly ever. So.
Right.
Actually, you would be a very valuable person.
If people couldn't lie to you?
If people couldn't lie to you. You could become a judge or something.
I feel like that'd be kind of like illegal.
Illegal how?
Well, it's in our constitution that you're you're not allowed to be required to incriminate yourself.
Yeah, it does sound illegal.
So you could probably be a really good lawyer though.
Yeah?
Because the defense, well, I guess, or you would be a really so the defense would never be, or I guess the prosecution, depending upon whichever side you were on. I guess the defense in my scenario would never be able to call the defendant as a witness, because you would, if they were guilty, you would just ask them if they were guilty. Oh, they could just plead the fifth, which isn't lying. Ooh, that's good. That's good.
But it would always look, if you were like well known to be the person that you couldn't lie to, and somebody wouldn't answer a question, that would seem a little bit suspicious.
I mean, it seems suspicious now, but that's not how I mean, okay, anyway, yeah, you're right.
Now. I wonder how that works.
I mean, the thing is, you can't, I mean, I guess if you're a jury, you can decide that someone's suspicious enough to convict them, but you really shouldn't. I mean, most juries, hopefully, again, obviously there's flaws with our justice system, but hopefully you will have at least one person on a jury who's sensible enough not to convict someone if there's not enough evidence.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's the goal.
Anyway, so that was an interesting question. So one of the replies on the thread was, service employees are now legally required to physically fight one customer a day. Which is not a good rule, but it is funny.
Yeah, I'm concerned that there's not one person a day worth fighting, and somebody's just gonna get fought for no reason.
Right.
I'm not really concerned about that because this is entirely hypothetical.
Have you ever worked in the service industry?
No. I've worked at a hardware store, which was the closest I've been, like helping people find stuff, but.
Right. So it's interesting you would bring that up because, like, I feel like from reading stories on the internet and stuff, that wouldn't even have crossed my mind. Like, of course, customers are so horrible. There's always going to be someone that you want to physically fight. But I guess, I worked at a dining court for a couple of years, and I really didn't run into any customers that I wanted to fight.
Right.
So, yeah, I wonder how common it is to have customers like that. We should perform a scientific experiment with unlimited money to determine how many customers a day are like that. What percentage of customers?
And we can allow the servers to fight the customers that are bad.
Yes, no ethics.
Because there's no ethics.
Excellent. These questions are all coming together. Turns out I have a common thread for all the questions in the audience. Can you figure it out? No. All right. Let's see what time we're at. 30 minutes. All right, next question. You can choose a superpower, but every time you activate it, you turn into a pig. What superpower is it? So I think we previously discussed superpowers on the podcast.
I think we did.
So, it's interesting. So invisibility, you're probably not that affected because you're just an invisible pig.
Being a pig doesn't. Does you like become a pig or do you just look like a pig?
I mean, the way I interpreted it as you physically become a pig, but with your own mind still. Like you don't have the mind of a pig.
You're not just, you become invisible and also like not very smart, and
you can never get out of it because you're a pig.
Right. Okay, well in that case, I think like pretty much any superpower is still pretty good. And being a pig is just a little inconvenient.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, pigs don't have hands.
Yeah.
So being a pig can be pretty inconvenient.
Okay, that's a fair point. What?
Like if your superpower is like super strength, that's a lot less useful if you're a pig.
Right, because pigs can't manipulate things very well.
Right.
Okay.
I feel like invisibility is also not as good. Like I guess maybe I initially overestimated it because like if you think about what things you might want to do as an invisible person,
Yeah.
you can't open doors as a pig. It's harder.
You could just observe things basically.
Right, you're a lot shorter, so it's
Yeah.
harder to see things. I don't know how pigs' eyesight is, but probably not great.
Being able to fly is equally good whether you're a pig or a person, unless you
Yeah,
want to
except
like open
I
windows or things. I don't know.
I feel like hmm.
But
I'm
so
trying,
here's the thing though, right? Being a pig that can fly is better than being a person that cannot fly, given that you could also be a person that cannot fly when you have the ability to
yeah,
be
I feel like flying's a pretty good one. I'm trying to think of how how a flying pig is worse than a flying person. Really not that much worse.
I think it's just anytime you want to like carry stuff or open
Oh
things,
yeah,
it's
carrying stuff. That's probably actually somewhat important.
it could be. Oh,
What was that?
that was my buzzer thing. For somebody's at the door and they pressed my button.
It's me, surprise.
I'm not expecting anyone, so I think I'm going to ignore it.
All right.
Oh, they did it again.
Maybe you should go see who it is.
I'll go see who it is.
Wait, bring me on an adventure.
You're on my laptop. That would be super inconvenient.
Oh man.
Well,
Well, I'll just keep talking until you get back. So yeah, I feel go ahead. Oh, I guess you're not talking to me. So, I feel like another way to get around the whole pig thing is picking a superpower that's like you only have to use like for an instant, like teleportation. Like as you're teleporting, you're a pig, but then you just turn back into a person once you're done teleporting.
that's a good one.
Was anyone there?
I don't think so. There's additional buttons on the thing for me to talk and listen. So I tried to talk to whoever was out there and nobody said anything. I suppose I could like physically leave my apartment.
Well, yeah, no, if no one's talking to you, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
I feel like it was probably just some person pressing random buttons.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah,
If,
teleportation.
if that was you at my door, please email us.
Please email us. Alex and Alex at Joel DePutt. In 2 years when our podcast becomes insanely popular,
Yeah.
and somebody's listening to the backlogs, they're gonna realize that it was them, and and they're gonna be like, "Holy shit! I was drunk out of my mind on that night. I just showed up at my girlfriend's building, hitting all the buttons."
Yeah. So to you, drunk button pusher, please email us and explain yourself.
I guess we haven't revealed where you live, so they wouldn't actually know.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Let's
I'm not
say
gonna
your
give you
address on the podcast.
Let's know.
All right. Cool. Cool. Any other thoughts on the superpower?
Not specifically. I think pretty much any superpower is pretty good. Some may be better than others. I think teleportation was a really good one because you don't really have to be a pig for that long.
I wonder how mind reading counts. Like, do you just for an instant read someone's mind and then you know their thoughts, or do you have to like continuously be reading their mind. I wonder how it works.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to give ourselves this superpower using an unethical science experiment and unlimited money and find out.
Agreed.
All right. Next question. You're in high school, and if you can get your teacher to give you detention in 60 seconds or less, you win $10,000. What do you do?
I'm trying to remember at my high school what detention was like. Because I don't think there was like detention, you know?
Right. So for our listeners who don't know, he went to the tiniest high school you can imagine.
Right. If you can think of a number of students, it's less than that. And
some smart asses out there thinking less than one student?
Yep. And yes, you're correct.
It's less more than one student, dumbass.
Okay. So
if you're that dumbass, email us at alexandalex@podcast@gmail.com.
Subject line, I'm that dumbass.
I'm a dumbass is the subject line.
That is all. I don't want to hear anything else from you. That's just all you should email us.
You're gonna get our account's gonna get an email from me in 6 months re-listening to this podcast and having thought that.
It'll be funny when you email us that, but it would be way funnier if somebody else did. So I really hope somebody else does.
Please, for the love of God, email us. I am a dumbass and nothing else.
If you do that, we will announce on the podcast that you are a dumbass. That'll be your reward.
I can just see 2 years from now when our podcast is extremely popular, we have a 30-minute segment where we read all the names of dumbasses. And now for the reading of dumbasses.
It's like at the end of YouTube videos where people are like, thanks to my patrons over at Patreon, and then they have like the list of people.
Oh, right, because that's part of their perks, yeah.
Because we don't like do anything for our patrons. We treat the dumbasses better than the patron.
Yeah, fuck you, patrons. Go to hell.
I really hope that happens. What was the question?
You're in high school and you can get $10,000 if you get detention in 60 seconds.
Okay. Can you just ask for detention?
I doubt a teacher would just give it to you for asking.
What if okay, maybe asking is wrong. What if you just like stood on your desk and you like yelled at the teacher, "Give me detention." And they're like, "No." So you're like, "Give me detention." You start like knocking stuff over and
yeah, like you just got to throw in a couple expletives and that would probably do it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that would accomplish.
I guess at that point you're walking a fine line between detention and suspension.
Does suspension not count? I suppose not.
Yeah, it's different. So.
What would you need to? I don't actually listen. I was a good kid. I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
To get your detentions versus suspensions.
So I actually did get detention once.
Yeah.
So my middle school had a rule where if you forgot your gym clothes more than once or more than twice or something, you get detention.
Huh.
And I did do that. So
unfortunately, that doesn't help us because you can't forget your gym clothes 3 times in 60
seconds. Yeah, that is not very helpful. So I guess we're just too good.
Right.
Yeah.
If you were a bad kid that got detention,
please email us.
Alex and Alex
at joelthepodcast@gmail.com.
Subject line, I'm a dumbass.
Subject line. But then in the email, tell us how you would get detention.
Right, that's critical. We need to separate you from the actual dumbasses.
Well, no, they're both dumbasses. We just need to separate them from the people who thought you had one person in your high school from the people who got detention in high school.
Can we just so all of these things across, many episodes that we've said to email us for, I want to retroactively require, in addition to whatever we said at the time, the subject of your email must be I'm a dumbass.
Okay, but what if they listen to a previous episode, and then they email us before listening to this episode, not knowing that they had to use the subject line, I'm a dumbass?
Right. I guess there would be no way for us to know that whether they've listened to this one.
Right.
Unless we get emails before I upload this episode, which is almost certainly not going to happen. So
yeah. So I guess I probably shouldn't have said that. So
yeah, that's a fair point, but hopefully
please just include that as the subject line.
Yeah, do your best, everybody.
I just want to get a completely normal email with the subject line I'm a dumbass. It's got episode suggestions and but things to improve the podcast, and it just subject I'm a dumbass.
If you're the first person to email us with the subject line I'm a dumbass, I will Venmo you $1.
Oh man, shit's getting real this episode. That's 2 separate offers to Venmo $1.
Yeah, you can come away from this episode with $2 if you email us a bunch of basketball statistics with the subject line I'm a dumbass. Also, please include your Venmo,
and if you include some attempt at proving you've never punched a baby, you can get an additional cent.
$2.01 up for grabs. I feel like at some point in the past we've also said if they're the first person to email us, they get a cent, but that might be related to the baby thing.
Yeah, I don't remember that being separate.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think what happened is in that episode, we were like, if you're the first person to email us, we'll give you a cent. And then later on in the episode, the baby subject came up, and we added that condition.
Right, because we don't want to be paying no baby punchers.
Right.
Understandable.
Yeah. By the way, I just wanted to say that someone on this thread commented that this is what they would say. I didn't do my homework. On purpose! Which is kind of hilarious, because I feel like anytime someone doesn't do their homework, they have some, excuse.
Yeah.
So just saying, yeah, I didn't do it on purpose.
Anytime I didn't do my homework, I just forgot about it.
Well, aren't you nice? I have to admit on air that I did intentionally not do my homework sometimes.
I guess I did that in college.
Well, yeah, college doesn't count because, see, in high school, if you don't do your homework, it'll hurt your grade and you'll feel bad because the teacher will you'll have to in person say to the teacher don't have it or whatever, depending on how the homework is checked. Right. But in college, it's just affects your grade and no one cares. So it's it's just a strategic move not to do it. or an unstrategic move, depending.
Yeah. Trade all that time and effort for the additional 2%. Just not worth it sometimes.
Yeah. By the way, someone else commented in the thread, lots of people are going to end up with no money and a suspension instead of a detention based on this thread.
There you go. It's apparently a dangerous game to play.
Yeah. So
we wouldn't know since we're good kids.
Yep. All right. We've never punched any babies.
Absolutely not. And I have lots of audio evidence in the form of this podcast. At no point during the podcast will you ever hear me punching a baby.
I have 25 to 30 hours of myself talking, And nowhere in those 25 to 30 hours did I punch a baby.
Absolutely nowhere.
So, let's just hope that we never punch a baby on a future episode. Then we'd be effed.
Yep, that would be a dark day for the podcast.
I'm just imagining in 3 years when we become a super popular podcast.
Yeah.
We're gonna make like a YouTube prank video. You know what kind of video I'm talking about? And it's gonna be like the punching baby challenge. And we're just gonna go around asking people if we can punch their babies. Oh no, we're gonna go around asking people if they've punched a baby.
Yes, that's what. If we ever interview a guest, that has to be the first question we ask them.
Absolutely. So in 4 years, when we become a popular podcast, we have to do that.
Right.
All right. This is the last question that I have. So, we're actually not at a bad time. So let's answer this. This is probably our last question.
Sounds good.
What quote is most improved by tacking on "here in the middle of this Olive Garden" to the end of it?
Huh. Unfortunately, I don't.
You don't know any quotes?
Know a bunch of quotes, you know?
All right, here you go. 77 years ago, our forefathers brought forth upon to this continent a new nation, here in the middle of this Olive Garden.
Not bad.
Well, not good either. I need you to come up with something better than that.
All right. Hold on. Let me look up a bunch of quotes real quick.
Look up a bunch of quotes.
Let me steal a bunch of content. I'm not original.
Yeah, I'm going to steal a bunch of content from the actual thread.
Best quotes of all time. If opportunity doesn't knock, build a door here in the middle of this Olive Garden. If you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else here in the middle of this Olive Garden.
Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them here in the middle of this Olive Garden.
This is actually a very fun game. I propose a weekly here in the middle of this Olive Garden quote.
That's an excellent idea. I don't know if you remember, but we originally had some idea that if our list of things we do at the beginning of the episode gets too long, we would just stop podcasting. So I'm excited that we finally decided to add a second thing to it. If you let my daughter go, now that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you. Here, in the middle of this Olive Garden. I need to see that movie.
I also have not seen that movie.
We should have a movie night. All right. What?
Like on Skype?
I don't know. I just suggested it. I didn't even think through how that would work. Okay, but here I have the actual best quote. This is the actual answer. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills, here, in the middle of this Olive Garden. That is Winston Churchill, for those of you who are not nerds.
Apparently, I'm a nerd.
Oh, you didn't know?
I did know.
Oh, yeah, you did know. That makes you a nerd, right? Yes, yeah. I understand my own logic.
All right.
You got any more good quotes?
Well, I'm trying to look up large lists of quotes and not doing a very good job because everybody wants to post like a top 10 article.
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die here in the middle of this Olive Garden. You could not live with your own failure. And where did that bring you? Back here, in the middle of this Olive Garden. The Avengers, for those who are not nerds.
I'm finding a lot of like inspirational quotes that just end sensibly.
Here you go.
Oh. Love
right,
cures people. Love cures people. Both the ones who give it and the ones who receive it here in the middle of this Olive Garden.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar here in the middle of this Olive Garden. That is from Shakespeare, for those of you who are not nerds.
The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting here in the middle of this Olive Garden.
I also really need to watch Lord of the Rings.
Have you not watched Lord of the Rings?
No, I think we discussed this on the podcast, actually.
Oh.
I
do remember discussing this now that you say no.
Ever since we discussed it, I've been like, maybe I should watch it tonight. But it's really long, and I can never like work up the, effort to watch it.
Yeah, it does. It does take some dedication, but it's very good. Eventually, you should get through it.
All right. Let's have one more quote and then we'll end it. Here we go. We'll go with a quote from a famous Purdue alumnus, Neil Armstrong. This is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, here in the middle of this Olive Garden.
All right. Brilliant.
So yeah, that is the end of this podcast. Thank you for listening. Obviously, we're very unoriginal and just stole a bunch of content. But I thought it was funny. So if you agree with me or not, please email us at alexandalex@joelthepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Make sure to include the subject, I am a dumbass.
I'm so excited for getting an email that's...
You can just stop right there.
Yeah.
Yep. I feel like we may have, I mean, I obviously haven't been counting, but we may have set a record for the most email us's in an episode. I think we got quite a few in here.
We did. There was that one episode where I counted them, and I don't remember. I think we got to like 10 or 11.
That's pretty good. Maybe we didn't pass that. If you know if this was a record, please email us at alexandalex@joelthepodcast@gmail.com.
Also, if you would like to volunteer to count the number of email us jokes in each episode so that we can have this data for the future, please email us at alexandalex@joelthepodcast@gmail.com.
Please do. All right. Well, once again, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week with another low-effort episode.
Yep.
I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this has been Joel.